Hey guys, I am just going to tell y'all about my labor, delivery slash C-section slash breastfeeding story. Her due date was February of this year, 2013, if this is viewed sometime in the future. Um, she was born on February of 2013. I went into labor on the I didn't really realize it. I was at home cooking and straightening up, tidying up, making sure everything was fine and dandy and all that good stuff. I had a doctor's appointment earlier that day and that went well. And bubble mouth. That went well. And then after the doctor's appointment earlier on the 9th, we went to the grocery store because I had planned on cooking dinner that night since, nothing was going on. I didn't feel any contractions by that time. It was probably like 10 in the morning when my appointment was. And there was no feeling, I didn't feel anything. But shortly after I got home, I started feeling different pressure. And I was like, well, I guess it could be contractions, but everyone said it would be undeniable that you would not be able to deny the contractions, that you would definitely know it was contractions. Well, I didn't know it was contractions. It didn't bother me or anything. I was like, oh, wow, pressure. But anyways, even though it didn't bother me, I kept writing down the times that I would feel this pressure just in case it was contractions. Thinking on my head, oh yeah. We went to sleep, or he went to sleep. I kind of stayed up, and I was the last month or so it was hard to sleep because you're uncomfortable and you just can't really get to sleep sometimes. So that night, being as though I was in so much pain, not so much pain, but being as though I was having those pressure feelings, I was like, well, I'm not going to go to sleep because, the baby's going to be here soon, blah, blah, blah. Today's my due date, so it could happen anytime. I'm not going to be able to sleep for the next week if she doesn't come. But about 5 o'clock that morning on the I decided it was time to go to the hospital because my contractions were coming so close from each other. They were coming like in between 3 and 7 minutes apart. We went to the hospital. They admitted me. They put like the little stress test or whatever on me, and they checked to see if I was dilating. It hurt so much whenever they check to see if you're dilating. It just hurt. So I was dilating, and they moved me to another room and got put the word in for epidural. Epidural got there. I got my epidural. No pain after that. Just sitting waiting. At about 7 o'clock that night, my water still hadn't broke, so the doctor was like, alright, we're going to go ahead and try and speed things up. We're going to break your water. Well, we broke my water, and nothing happened, so I guess at about 7:30, 7:40, we decided, well, we're going to go ahead and prep you for your C-section. At 8:47, she was born, so shortly after, she was extracted from the wound. I'm not exactly, I don't know what would you call it, I'm not a doctor. And I guess I didn't pay attention, whatever. So 8:47 she was born. I just remember when I was being prepped for the C-section, like I don't really like. I remember they give you this drink and you're supposed to drink it and it's supposed to keep you from being nauseous. And I remember moving into the room and I remember it was like just freezing cold. And I remember feeling like I was gonna puke, but not being able to. So I guess that's what the medicine did. It wouldn't let you puke, even though I felt like I was going to constantly puke. I constantly felt sick. And then I was shaking so much because it was so cold in there. Like, I really thought in my mind, oh, I'm going to have like a big Zorro slash in my stomach because I can't stop shivering. But obviously that they're skilled in doing that. So that wasn't the case at all. So after she was born, I don't remember if they put her directly on my chest or if they just pressed her against my chest and let me kiss her after they cleaned her up and everything, and then they let her daddy hold her. I guess I couldn't hold her because I was all woo from the medicines and everything that they give you. So they moved me back into the recovery room, and I was all by myself, which I didn't mind, but I was all by myself because she was just born and she was in the nursery. So my mom and his mom and they all went to the nursery to see her, and I didn't mind and everything, but I almost would have rather having company aside from the nurse. And the doctor came in there and everything, and, you know, he's been awesome. So that was a familiar face, but you're not going to get into, like, deep conversation with the doctor. You're going to be like, yeah, you know, so yesterday I, you know, ate a little bit more food with iron in it. Is that good? Should I stay away from foods with iron because I'm on an iron supplement? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to just talk to him about, how's your mother? You're not going to say that. So I kind of wish I would have had somebody in there other than the nurses that were telling me, press the morphine button, press the morphine button. I was like, I can do it when no, you have to do it now. But I thought you said I could press it when I needed to. Trying to dope me up? What are you trying to do? They really were like, press the button. I'm like, I'm fine. Press the button. It was funny. At about 12, I guess, they moved me to the other room. Say, hey! They moved me to the other room. And, about 12:30, she was finally able to come in the room with me. Which is a little late, especially since I was planning on breastfeeding. Or I planned on breastfeeding. I am breastfeeding. I still am. So we were successful with it. But she didn't come in until 12:30, so that she didn't get to do that initial first feeding within the first hour. So, but you know, we did good, and she did good with the breastfeeding. She was able to latch on really good, and the first day she was satisfied. The second day, towards the end, she started to get frustrated, and she was latching on, and then after about 5 minutes, she would unlatch. So we would try the other one. She didn't want to go to the other one, so we would do all that stuff, and she just wasn't. You want your pacifier? Yeah. So, the second day, she started to get frustrated with everything. And what the lactation consultants, because I was lucky to be in a hospital that had like 4 or 5 different lactation consultants, and they all came and checked on us every day. The lactation consultants, you know, pretty much diagnosed it as my milk hadn't came in yet, and she was getting frustrated that she was only getting the colostrum. Now, don't get me wrong, the children can definitely survive more than, you know, needed on just colostrum, but she was getting frustrated not having the milk that she was wanting. So we ended up having to do some supplements. It wasn't from a bottle, or it wasn't from like one of those little, I don't know, medicine things or whatever. It wasn't from that. It was this really cool, it was like a bottle with like a really like narrow long tube, very little, like, I mean, slender little tube, and you put formula in it and you strap it, like you can attach it to your shirt or the pillow or anything that's like right there, and you tape the tube to your nipple so that she's eating from the nipple, still pulling the milk to get your supply up, but also she's getting the milk that she's craving. So the last part of the second day we did that, and then all of the third day we did that. What? All of the third day we did that, and then the third day we went home. The fourth day we were still half of the first part we were still supplementing. And then the rest of the fourth day, I ended up noticing that my milk came in. So I was like, yes, I was ecstatic. I was so happy. It was like, if I could have ran around, if I wasn't recovering from a C-section, I would have ran around. Are you ready for your nap? I would have run around. But I was not able to run around. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a part 2 to this, and I'm going to talk about the rest of my breastfeeding and the rest of the cesarean, because it's not over. There's some more stuff that needs to be said about it. So this is going to go ahead and do a part 2 because she needs to take a nap, so I'm going to go ahead and put her down for her nap and everything. So I will be back shortly with part 2. See you guys later. Hey guys, I am just looking at her. Yeah, anyways, I'm trying to look at the camera. I am just doing part 2 to the birthing, labor, breastfeeding, part 2. Anyway, so I left off with the 4th day being home. Let me go back to the 3rd day when we left. So we were leaving, and I was feeding my low, and she was getting fed, and I was getting released and everything. And the nurse was like, "You want me to call the transport right now to come get y'all?" And blah. I'm like, "Well, let me finish feeding her so she's all fed, and I'll call you as soon as I'm done feeding her." She's like, "Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. Just give us a call." So as soon as I was done, I gave her a call, and not that nurse specifically, but I gave the nurse station a call and told them, "Hey, I'm ready for transport, blase, blase." And so got off the phone, and we waited about an hour and a half, 2 hours, until we decided to call them back and see what was going on. We were right next to the nurses station, so like if we had our door open, we could hear them, and we just so happened to have our door open waiting for transport. And I called, and I was like, I'm just curious where the wheelchair is. And they're like, "Oh, okay." So they hung up, and you can hear them talking in there. They're just like, from our standpoint, being very unprofessional. They were out there just laughing, giggling. But everything other than that, as soon as we called the second time, I guess 30 minutes later they came, which transport's always sucky in hospitals. But just the way that they reacted to us asking them, "Hey, we're just curious as to what was going on," it just, had me really emotional and everything, because I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to get her home. Before we can go home, I had to go to the pharmacy and get the different prescriptions filled that they gave me. And, it felt like it was such a long journey home, and I just wanted to get home. So, but other than that one little thing, the hospital and the nurses and the nursing staff was all amazing, and big ups to them. Woot woot. They were all great. But, okay, so 4th day, by the 4th day we were fine with breastfeeding. All that was great. It was fine, dandy, and she was doing good. She started to gain her weight back and everything. I had an appointment 2.5 weeks after delivery, and that was just a checkup to be like, "Oh, just what's going on, how everything's doing." Well, when we got to that appointment, we realized that my cesarean incision has become infected. So it was infected, and the doctor was like, "Well, we're going to have to admit you. It's infected enough to where we have to admit you to the hospital." And we went back to the labor and delivery floor because I was nursing. They allowed her to stay with me, and that's why they chose labor and delivery rather than any of the other floors that they had at this hospital. And that was awesome because, I didn't want to be away from her and have to pump and everything. I couldn't imagine that. So I seen a lot of the same nurses. So I was already familiar with almost everybody that was there. So it was really comforting. I was there for a week. I was admitted on a Thursday, and I went back home on a Thursday. And that whole week that I was there, we had to change out the gauze every day. We had to vacuum out the wound every day. Because it was huge. It was it was the size of my freaking hand, if not bigger. But they had to reopen it because it was infected. So they opened it back up to get the infection out and let it drain out the way it should be done. We did that, and we were in the hospital, blase, blase. So they had me on antibiotics, and the first day, the antibiotics, we made sure it was safe to nurse while being on these antibiotics. After making sure for that, we kept nursing. But on the second day, she started getting fussy, and she wouldn't want to stay on the boob. And the lactation consultants and I were guessing it was because she's smiling at the broom. It's yellow, so she likes the broom. But the lactations consultant and I figured maybe the antibiotics was making my milk taste different. And, that's pretty much what we summed it up to. And I was just having to nurse her 24/7, literally every 30 minutes to an hour, feed her to make sure that she was eating enough and everything. The second day she was used to it, and she was like, "Oh, okay." whatever. This is the only way I'm gonna get food. Okay, I'm gonna suck it up. I'm gonna be a trooper. I'm a soldier. 504. You know, she was awesome, but she didn't want to eat it first, so we just had to work with it. And I was on antibiotics, and then they put me on a different kind of antibiotics, but it didn't bother her because I guess it was already tasting different, so she was already used to the taste. I think it was bitter, because I remember, like, whenever she's so silly. She's so silly. What you doing, baby? What you doing? You just smiling. Look at you. She's so cute. So anyways, they had me on another antibiotic, and they were coming in every day, changing out. They were doing it every day, changing out the pads or the gauze or whatever, and they were vacuuming out the wound. It's like this little gun thing that pumps saline in it and then sucks it out at the same time. It's actually really awesome, and it didn't really hurt me. That is, like, they were like, oh, you're doing so well, you know. Most people say it hurts, so I was doing excellent, says the woman who didn't feel contractions. So I guess I'm just a trooper. So that went on for a week, and then we were finally released on Thursday, but that was only because we were able to find a good home health provider, which is, it was pretty much for the first week or so that I was home. They came every day, and they taught my fiance how to change it out. Really gross, but I want to be able to do it because it's, you know, lower. I can't, it's underwear line, you know, so I wasn't able to do it, obviously. So they taught him how to do it, and I remember the first day they were trying to teach him. He came in there, and, like, it was so big then. I just remember he looked at it, literally his face turned white, and, like, he just left the room, and I just was like, oh my God, is it that bad? Like, nurses don't do that because they're used to stuff like that, but to see his expression and, like, his face literally turn white, I was like, oh my God. Like, it was bad. Like, I had to look at it. I had to get them to take a picture of it before I left the hospital, so I knew what it looked like, and I knew what to look for if it was getting worse, because it was wide open when I left the hospital. It was wide open. It needed to be stuffed with gauze. Like, 3 medium 2x2s would fit in it, and it was disgusting. It was gross, and I still have to wear the bandages. Next week I'm going, like, it's completely closed now, but it's still doing the final healing of the seal. So, but I still have to wear the bandages and everything, and still have to clean it every day and all that stuff. So that's wonderful. But next week I go to the doctor, and I will be able to shower without the bandages on, because you have to shower with the bandages on, and then you have to change the bandages after you shower, so it's a pain in the butt. But next week I will be able to shower without the bandages on, and next week is going to be the last visit that I have to go weekly. I've been having to go weekly for like the last month just to make sure it's going. Ever since I was released, I had to go weekly to make sure everything was healing properly. So next week is going to be my last visit weekly, and then I have a follow-up in a month. So it's gonna work out really good. You know, Dr. Dad has been doing excellent, and I'm so grateful that he has been able to do that, because I wouldn't be able to do it at all. I just can't wait for it to be completely healed so I can bend better and I can paint my toes easier. Not that they look bad, they're painted. It's just complicated to try and do that. And then I can't wait for it to be healed all the way so I can start doing more exercises and get rid of this baby fat. I like to keep some of it because I was like super skinny before I got pregnant. So I'd like to keep some of the weight, but I don't like this muffin top, or I guess it's like a half of a muffin. You cut a muffin in half and then the tops. Yeah, so you ready to eat? You waking up from your nap? So that is part 2 of my labor, delivery, breastfeeding story. Everything's going perfectly now with breastfeeding. Everything's going great. She is doing good. She's actually getting to the stage to where she's more efficient with getting milk out, so she gets straight to the punch, and she nurses not as long as she used to. She still nurses the amount. She just, like, is able to get more milk in one session. So, but she's doing wonderfully, and I'm doing wonderfully. Hopefully, I'll be all healed up next week, and hopefully she'll be hitting her milestones like she has been, and hopefully we'll continue to do. So this is part 2, and I will see you guys later. Adios. Peace out. See you later. Hey everyone, just wanted to do an update video on how my doctor's appointment went for my incision. Everything's going great. I can take the bandages off now. Ooh, awesome. You don't understand. I've been in bandages for like 3 months now. I'm so happy I can take them off. Jeez. Everything's going good. He wants me to wear dresses while I'm at home, so that I can have the bandage off and I can let it air out and nothing rubs up against it. So, I guess I have a few dresses. It's not like I'm going to go anywhere in these dresses, so whatever, I'll wear them at home. She's doing great. She's sleeping right back there. I don't know if you can see her over my shoulder. She's right there sleeping. She's doing wonderfully. I'm doing great. She's doing great. So I am trying to start eating healthier, and gonna try and start exercising a little bit more now that I am in the clear and I have no restrictions when it comes to the incision. So that's so awesome. Like, you don't understand how awesome it is. I'm just so excited to have the bandages off and not have to worry about it. And I still have to wash it, obviously, because it's, you know, in its final stages of healing, and I have to wash it daily. And then, you know, I still wipe it with saline just to make sure it's staying clean, because I'm not taking any chances. I am ready for this to be healed completely the right way. Just, oh. So, but alright, I guess this is up for this video. This is all for this video. I just wanted to show y'all this video so that y'all could see how happy I am. And anyone out there that might have an infected C-section, there is hope. The light is at the end of the tunnel, and you will get there one day. Not right now, but one day you will. Alright, bye. So we are back from the doctor, and the doctor is a little concerned about how she has not gained any weight, as were we, and they gave us a referral to go to Children's Hospital because she's not gaining weight. So we are on our way to Children's Hospital right now. Luckily he's off today and tomorrow, so it's not gonna like cramp his style with work or anything, but we're just, I guess, a little worried and just curious about what's going on. And it just makes me wonder, should we have formula fed? Would she be okay? Am I not making the right milk or something? So, alright, bye. She's gonna be grabbing that wristband soon. She's gonna be like, yeah, what's this? I know. What's this? Ain't your baby sleeping? Really? What was that?
Hey.
Good bird.
So, I'm made it in the hospital.
This is the most comfortable bed in the world. So comfortable. Isn't it? She thinks so too. Say, someone sucking their thumb and fingers. Someone sucking their thumb and fingers. Oh, look at her. Oh, burp. Where did that burpee come from, baby? Where did it come from? So there's the reflection of the city in that mirror. You see it? You see the reflection of the city right there? And then over here is the G&O Bridge. You just can't really see it unless you know what it looks like. It's right there in that window. It's G&O Bridge. City. G&O. So that means it's over there. The city's over there. So here's the update. She's doing great. She's starting to gain weight, so we should be able to go home tomorrow. I'm losing my balance on this stupid chair, sofa thing that I'm trying to sit on. And we're doing great. She's doing great. Obviously, I'm not producing enough milk, and that's where the problem lies. So we're having a supplement feed right now, and then just like nurse like crazy, pump like crazy. Today was the first day I was able to nurse. We came yesterday, and I was able to let's try this again. So yesterday, I guess the last time I was able to nurse her was probably around 3. So it was a full 24 hours I was not able to nurse her physically. I had to pump, and from the pumping, you know, it's kind of telling us how much she's getting on that average feeding, and it's not enough. She's probably getting about 2 to 3 ounces on the average feeding, whereas a 4-month-old usually gets about 4 ounces. Whether it be formula or breast milk. There's a wall supplying, so that's why I just looked down. Anyway, so it's either formula or breast milk. Usually about 4 months they get 4 ounces, so 1 ounce per month usually. We're having a supplement feed right now, and she got her IV out today. She didn't have any fluids going into it, but since they had to take blood, they decided to just leave the connector there in case she needed to have any type of fluids. But luckily, no fluids for her. Are you happy to be home? Say, are you happy to be home? See, Mommy's got all of her messy stuff everywhere. See, because we just now unpacked and we didn't get to do anything with it yet because you got hungry. Say, you got hungry. Yeah. See, Mommy got hungry too. That's why she has blueberries. Yum, yum. Say, Mommy was worried her blueberries were going to go bad. Yeah, but they're still good. Oh, you gonna laugh? Oh, oh, oh. What? Oh, oh, oh. You happy? Are you happy? So, excuse me from looking like a total mess right now, but we just got back from the hospital, I guess, an hour and a half ago, and I was feeding her and just trying to get everything cleaned up, which I have not had a chance to do. I pretty much just emptied all of our bags. But I just wanted to let y'all know everything's going great. We have her doctor's appointment on Friday, and that is just to check and make sure that she is gaining weight still and that she's not losing any weight. And then we'll have another appointment next week at some time just to keep up and make sure. And then we have another appointment with her 3 weeks from now. And that was the appointment, or 2 weeks from now. We have an appointment that they scheduled 2 weeks from Monday. And that's because, you know, he was concerned and he wasn't sure, I guess, what they were going to do at the hospital. The hospital said, you know, we need to go in a couple days after leaving to make sure she's still gaining the weight, and then a few days after that. So maybe, I guess, Friday, and then I was thinking Wednesday, and then the next Monday is when we're going to be going. Hey everyone, so we are home, we're settled in, everything is okay. We just have to supplement feed her, which kind of sucks, but we're just trying to build up my supply again. We pretty much came to the conclusion, the lactation consultant, me, and the doctors all came to the conclusion that it was the birth control that I was put on by my doctor, which I remember reading in the leaflet that comes with medicine, because I'm a weirdo, I read those things, but I remember reading in the leaflet that it said that it could possibly diminish the quality of your breast milk, and it could also hurt your supply. So before I even started the birth control, I asked her doctor if it was okay to take it. He looked it up on his little phone computer. I don't know if you've been to the doctor lately, but when you ask them a question, they automatically refer to their iPhone or Droid or whatever it is that they have. They look it up, and then they tell you if it's safe. I can do that at home, but whatever. So he said it was okay, but obviously it wasn't. I am one of those 5% of people where anything that can go wrong will go wrong and has gone wrong. So obviously I had an infected C-section. Obviously, I am one of the small percent of people who the birth control does do something horribly wrong to. So we're home, and she's doing great. She is picking up weight, and it is amazing. And hopefully we're able to get my supply back up. If not, we're still going to just partially breastfeed. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I'm not a quitter. I only quit basketball once in my life. But other than that, I finished all the sports I used to play. Except basketball. And that one sucked. It wasn't very good. I was short. I 5 foot. It's not very easy for a 5 foot person to play basketball. And I'm 5 foot now. It's not 5 foot then. Alright, but see you guys later. Just wanted to close up this video with that's what it was. So, peace. Hey everyone, so this video is long overdue. This is a video on our breastfeeding journey or breastfeeding story. I guess whatever one I think sounds better is going to be the one that's in the title. So this is just everything that we had to go through. I feel like we had to go through a whole lot of stuff before, having to switch to formula, and it wasn't necessarily our choice, but it was just becoming so much of a hassle, and you'll end up hearing the story right now. So let's begin with this very long and probably frustrating story of failed breastfeeding. So for the first, I say 2 months, it really went fine. There was no concerns. And then the 3rd and 4th month, she wasn't really gaining any weight. We didn't quite realize that. That's one of the things that, you don't really see how much they develop, or if they don't develop, you just have a wonderful ball of joy in front of you, and you don't really see the day-to-day, growth that they go through. So we didn't realize, and the doctor said maybe like once, she's a little underweight, but he didn't seem concerned, and he didn't make us feel like it was, something to be worried about. I wish he would have, but, it doesn't really affect anything now, so, we got through it. But, she was a little small for her age, but it was nothing to be concerned about to our knowledge. Nobody acted like it was a concerning matter. So at her 4-month checkup was when we were admitted to Children's Hospital, because she hadn't gained a pound since birth. Yes, in 4 months she hadn't gained, I think it was maybe a little bit over a pound, but still, by that time she should have gained, way more than just a pound. So we were admitted to the hospital just to see, run different tests, x-rays, all kinds of crazy things that is just insane to have to put a child through. But, it was for the greater good, just to make sure there was no underlying condition or matter that was causing the failure to thrive. That is the diagnosis that was given. It was failure to thrive. So we went to the hospital. We stayed for 2 or 3 days, maybe 4. And, all the tests that were done came back negative. So it was definitely just not getting enough nutrients through breastfeeding. So during our hospital stay, I was having to pump because we had to keep a log on what she was getting through me. This is very controversial. Some people say the pumping is not a clear indicator of your milk supply, whereas others will say it is a clear indicator and it might not be exact on what the child is able to pull out, but it is in close proximity to what you are producing. But I was only able to pump maybe 1 or 2 ounces, which the hospital said was a clear indicator that I'm not able to that I'm not able to produce a lot of milk. We had lactation consultants, we had, what's the next one up? They have lactation consultants, which they really don't go through schooling to be a consultant, but then they have the certified consultants. It's the one that's above that. We had them talk to us. We had all kinds of different people talk to us. And, they monitored her feeding. She knew exactly what was going on. I really wish we would have been able to breastfeed longer, but she knew what was going on. She knew the process. She would get into this little position showing that she was ready to feed. And, everything showed that she knew what was going on. She had a proper latch. She was doing everything as she should. So it was just determined that it was, in fact, my milk supply, that I was not able to have a adequate milk supply to feed my young child, which is very saddening when you think about it. So, we had everyone. We had the lactation consultants. We had the certified consultants. And that's just what I'm calling them because I have no idea what they're called right now. And then we had, social workers, the nurses, and it was really awesome to just have so much support and, trying to get us on the track of being able to exclusively breastfeed again. But we were released because she was able to gain weight. It was through formula feeding and breastfeeding. We were supplement feeding her. As we went home, I just kept trying to pump. I would say about 2 months after was when we finally decided we weren't going to be breastfeeding because it was just so much stress. As much as I would have liked to continue exclusively breastfeeding or even just supplementing with formula, it just was not what was best for our family. As much as I would have loved to, I just wasn't able to. It was just causing a whole lot of stress, and even though I was pumping around the clock, I seen a diminish in my supply, and I chalked it up to being so stressed from having to pump. When I got home from work, I had to go pump, and I could have pumped at work if I wanted to, but it was literally 3-hour shifts, 4-hour shifts, and I didn't deem it necessary to pump. I pumped and fed before I left, and then as soon as I got home, I pumped. I would pump for it was a range of times. If I seen the milk flow stop, I would, stop pumping, and then I would pump again, which is, I can't think of what that lady called it. Extreme pumping? I don't think that's what it is, but it was just like tantric pumping. You just pumped and then you stopped and then you pumped again and then you stopped and then you pumped again, and that would work for a while, and that would take like an hour to get, a good milk flow and a good amount. But even then, I still wasn't able to get the amount that she needed. And like I said, it was just frustrating to have to go back there away from her, just, pumping and, also nursing. I would nurse her, and then after that I would go and pump. So it was just really frustrating, and it became a hassle, and it became very stressful, and like I said, I seen it was diminishing my milk supply. So that is our breastfeeding journey, and that is the decision we had to make as to breastfeeding, continuing breastfeeding and supplement feeding, or just going to formula. And since we switched to formula, we did see a rapid increase in her weight, which was amazing. We didn't have to worry about was she getting enough, and luckily it was for only 2 months before we, started her foods. Just looking back, that's an experience that I wish we wouldn't have had to go through, but if we do have another child, I know what to look for when breastfeeding. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you're having the same problems, I hope this helped you. Guys, see you later.
So I used to have some footage that talked about my second pregnancy. I filmed it while I was still in the hospital, but I don't know where that footage is. So we'll give a quick little rundown on my second pregnancy. My second pregnancy, halfway through, became high risk. I had very high blood pressure, and I was having to monitor that, and I was having to change my diet. I guess failed is what most people refer to it as, but my sugar glucose test was not very good, and I had to go back to take the dreaded 6-hour glucose test. I think it was like 6 hours. It was really long, and they were like, all right, we're just gonna have to monitor this. You're very close to becoming preeclampsia and full-blown eclampsia. All of the things were just not sounding great in the end of my pregnancy. So we ended up a week before my daughter was born. I had a doctor's appointment, and the doctor was like, hey, yeah. The doctors were so worried about it that they wanted me to show my 5-year-old daughter how to respond if anything happened to me, if I were to have a seizure or anything like that. So my 5-year-old daughter had to learn which houses in our neighborhood are the neighbors that we kind of know and trust, and which ones she would need to go to after dialing 911, which is, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine having to bear that responsibility at 5. But my doctors were very worried, so they wanted me to show my 5-year-old how to get immediate help if that was the case. Thankfully it wasn't, but I did have to get a blood pressure machine and check my blood pressure like every hour, every other hour, something like that. It was pretty crazy. So I went in, the doctor scheduled a C-section for a week from the appointment. So we just monitored my health that week, and then when it was time to go to the hospital, because we were scheduled for our cesarean, we went to the hospital. Everything was fine, and we went into surgery. I think it was 6:25 when my youngest daughter was born, I think. We had some complications though during the surgery. So I lost a lot of blood. My uterus would not stop bleeding, and the amount of blood I lost was 1,100 cc's. And I remember that because I had the hospital cup, the notorious labor and delivery hospital mom cup, that cup. I had one of those next to me, and the nurse was like, yeah, you lost a lot of blood. You see that cup? You lost a little bit more than what that cup holds. And I was like, oh my goodness. So it was a pretty stressful pregnancy towards the end. It was fairly easy going in the beginning. I didn't have any nausea or anything like that, which my first pregnancy, I had so much nausea. I was nauseous all the time. Second pregnancy, did not have that. I just was on the verge of becoming very ill with eclampsia. So thankfully it didn't happen. My daughter was born. She actually shares a birthday with a few of our family members who was born on that day as well, of course. I don't think it was too much. It was kind of a relief once she was born, because then I was able to worry about, of course, her health, but also my health. It's a little bit easier to take care of a little one when they're earth side rather than womb side. So it just felt a whole lot easier taking care of the little one when she wasn't in my tummy, and having her earth side, and then being able to take care of my health, not having the same issues that I was having right before going into the labor and delivery ward. But yeah, it was intense at times, but I had to stay a few extra days because my blood pressure was just, it was not, the doctors didn't feel comfortable letting me go home, especially with the amount of blood that I lost. So it was a few days until I was able to get back home, and I remember being frustrated, but also thankful. Like, I'm so glad that they made sure I was good to go, but also very impatient because I wanted to go home. So yeah, that's probably gonna finish up this video. I've been going through a lot of old footage, and I was trying to find all my labor and delivery footage from each child, but yeah, I couldn't find all of it. Also, since I was talking about breastfeeding for my first child, I'll touch a little bit. We tried breastfeeding, and I was more determined this time to be successful, but even with me trying different things and eating different flaxseed and all kinds of, I did all of the things that was recommended, lactation cookies, pump. I don't know what was wrong. I've never been able to produce a lot of milk. And a lot of people are like, don't you just need to drink more? Don't you need to do this or this? Baby, the only thing I really drink is water, and I drink a lot of water. So I don't think it was an issue of hydration. But we were unsuccessful the second go around with breastfeeding as well. So I don't remember all the things that happened and in what manner they all happened in. I just remember being kind of out of it for the second half of my pregnancy. So some of the details are a little bit wonky, and I don't really remember too many. I just remember the main things. So if this feels a little like a wobbly story, I'm sorry. It is a wobbly story. I'm just trying to get it all written down because I hate not having things to look back on that are on a physical copy of something, like either written down or a video or pictures or something. I need like a physical copy. So yeah, but that's gonna be everything for this video. Bye, see you later.
The great yellow sun is reflecting in your deep blue eyes. The day has begun. You spin around, you laugh to yourself, and I see you shine in every color, resting your head in my